Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, jumping straight in as always, because we never don't jump straight in to our topics. Starting out here, we have the Lego Supercharger that's being proposed. This was submitted by Airbricks95 and comes fitted with, it actually looks really, really cool. There's a lot of detail to it as well. So it looks like a Tesla service center with 3 superchargers. They got a Model 3, the Cybertruck, lights. It looks pretty sick. And then even inside, they have the displays you would see at the center with a Model S inside? Question mark? Not really sure. But it does look pretty sweet. It's a cool project. It's cool that somebody designed this and is putting it through to see if they can get this actually made so people could go out and buy it. It just looks sweet. So it came on the platform to be submitted at March 7th, and you can go vote right now. It's already got 2,500 supporters in that week since it's been up there. And it looks cool. It actually is like, I'm not a Lego person, but it'd be cool to have and build to put on like a shelf to display, I guess. I think it'd be cool for that. It's cool. People make cool shit, and it's nice to see it and see it out there. Well, we're talking about Tesla. Let's talk about Mclaren, who actually wants to beat Tesla. That is a statement directly from them, that they would like to beat them. So how are they trying to do that? So McLaren's applied, business section and took that to make hypercars and then leveraged them into other parts of the business, including, being involved in engineering from everything from bicycles to medical equipment. They're doing it all. And they want to keep taking that and put it towards electric vehicles, most notably electric inverters for electric vehicles. So McLaren isn't going to necessarily release a car to compete with Tesla. They want to be the people behind everyone else's cars. So McLaren is focusing on what they've called the third and fourth wave of electrification, which is, efficiency is basically the third wave for them. So which automaker can go the farthest on the smallest battery and thus achieve the best profit margins. Because if the battery is really small, battery is the biggest cost of an electric vehicle. So if you can make that smaller and get farther, that's way better. So this is where McLaren's introducing their product, which is the IPG5 EV converter. The converter is basically responsible for taking energy from the battery and directing it towards the motors of an EV. They're doing it extremely efficiently and are hoping to get better at doing that. So the head of electrification, Lambert, explains that this is why so many people prefer the Porsche Taycan over the Tesla. The driving experience on that is better. Just say it. It drives better. Is the Tesla more fun? Maybe. But the Taycan feels better. So the company is, claimed it's the most power-dense inverter on the market. But thanks to its proprietary design, it's compatible with an 800-volt architecture capable of unparalleled performance and efficiency, as they would say. And then the fourth wave for them is basically vehicles that are beating Tesla in the market, which is where they're hoping to place themselves. They don't want to be the ones making the vehicles, but the ones supplying crucial parts that make the other vehicles better than a Tesla. And so we're just waiting to see that happen. That's kind of what's going on. Apparently, I like this. I like this a lot. I like seeing that a company like McLaren wants to take on a Tesla and try to beat them at something that Tesla is really good at. And that's the goal of Tesla as well. Elon said it before. They say it all the time. They just want to make the switch to sustainable, platforms as quick as possible. And McLaren is taking that challenge and wants to one-up them, basically, which should be awesome to see. Well, again, we'll see if it really happens. But let's give them props for at least wanting to try. So that said, somebody else is wanting to try at drone delivery. Now, there's a company called Zipline, and they've basically just showed off a new delivery slingshot mechanism. Mark Rober actually released a video about this as well already. But basically, they want to be able to do what Amazon showed off 10 years ago and make deliveries with drones and do it faster and quicker than most people with cars. And obviously, it's way better for the environment to have electrical things flying around than to have big cars delivering your Uber Eats. So, how they work is basically it'll slingshot the drone away, and then the drone can fly up to 10 miles in about 10 minutes with up to 8 pounds of cargo, and then it turns around and flies back and gets snagged by the tree. I'll try to remember to link Mark Rover's video so you can check that out, but it's essentially that, but they want to take that for doing package delivery. And I've even seen it just be like an actual drone that flies around, not necessarily being slingshotted around. But Zipline itself is doing a ton with autonomous electric deliveries. They've already flown over 40 million commercial miles, and that's through about 500 million flights, which is pretty incredible. Sorry, 500,000 flights. I don't know why I said billion, but we're out here. The plan basically is to conduct another 10,000 test flights this year, and then deliveries will begin shortly after. And because of this, they are Part 135 certification, which is their long distance on demand commercial drone flights, are now permitted in the US. So basically, they'll be able to get authorization from the FAA to do this and use its autonomous detection and avoidance technology to help get these drones from A to B and deliver you your Uber Eats faster than most cars would. Next up, actually talking about that a little further, is I'm curious how this will work. Obviously, they're going to stay under the 400-foot roll. And if you've seen the video of this, it's actually pretty crazy how it works. So basically, the drone will fly over at its 400 feet, drop the main body down, and the main body can actually steer itself. That will drop the package, and they can do it within, if you got a picnic table you wanted to drop it on, easy drop it on your dinner plate on that picnic table. Super, super easily. And then lift that body back up and fly home, which is wild technology. And you could use this from anything from pharmacy. They were even talking if you were on a call with a doctor, your prescription could get to you by the time your call's over with a delivery like this if you live close to a metropolitan area. The big question for me is, as somebody who is a drone operator, is certified to fly drones, and does for real estate all the time, how will a system like this, if I'm flying near a downtown area, if they're doing this, how will that interact with my drone? How will it detect my drone? And how am I going to make sure that my drone doesn't get crashed into by one of these? Because if they're completely autonomous, obviously they have avoidance features, but that doesn't mean that my drone is communicating with that drone. And it's a smaller object. Those are much harder to avoid, especially compared to a plane. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually get approved and they start doing these test flights, how that will work in those areas. Maybe the FAA is going to have to change again and say that everybody has to go through and put their flight area in so these drones can avoid it. There's a lot to figure out here still, to be completely honest, and tell the public about. And the other really nice thing about this is they're actually, because they can stay up at that 400 feet, is they're pretty quiet. So instead of having these giant propelled things land in front of your house and make a ton of noise, it'll stay pretty quiet flying around and just lowering cargo to your house. And just, again, leads to more questions like, what if somebody grabs the cargo thing and yanks the drone? What if somebody tries to steal it? There's so much to figure out with this that just doesn't feel like anyone has answers to yet, and we'll just have to wait and see what those answers become when the time gets here. But at least we're seeing movement on it, I guess. I'm glad that we're moving towards this more sustainable way, but at the same time, how many things can you have flying around safely? There's just a lot to ask. With that, Foxconn has won the Apple AirPods bid, so there's no details as the investment that they're going to be making, the timeline and suppliers and, manufacturing plans. None of that's been disclosed. The size of the deal has not been disclosed, other than Foxconn, who already is the world's largest electronics maker and assembles about 70% of iPhones, will become an AirPod supplier for the first time, actually, which shocks me that they wouldn't have been doing this before when they're doing 70% of all iPhones already. But with this deal, which must be pretty massive, they're planning on building a new $200 million factory in India. And I mean, that's a large investment. And it's wild to think that there's really only like two companies in the world that actually manufacture this stuff. And I mean, Foxconn doesn't even make the parts for the iPhone. Samsung makes most of those. It's it's weird when you start looking at industries how often they come down to like two or three big companies. Yeah, you got little guys in there doing some stuff, but not a deal that's worth a $200 factory. I mean, how many companies get a deal and then they're like, "Oh, sweet! First thing we're gonna do with that is go build a $200 million factory to build these things." So it's just wild that there's companies that work with. I mean, 200 million's basically nothing to Foxconn, but they're doing it. Which also is another. It's our next topic is very similar actually. South Korea is investing about 230 billion in Samsung, which you might be like, why would they be putting money in Samsung? But that's going to be doing a couple different things. So South Korea wants to build an enormous facility, like big boy facility to make computer chips in the Greater Seoul area, with about a $230 billion investment in the memory chip giant Samsung. So it's going to be completed in about 20 years. And last May, Samsung outlined a plan to pour more than 350 billion into its businesses and create tens of thousands of new jobs through 2026, mainly investing in its core businesses, which is microchips chip making and biopharmaceuticals. And the vast majority of the world's advanced microchips are made in just two places, Taiwan and South Korea. Now, Taiwan actually makes way more than South Korea does, but this will flip it. This will put it much in their way. And they're going to build the biggest chip manufacturing plant in the world. It actually, the render they have of it looks wild with these blue roofs. And I mean, I don't know if that's a golf course, but it looks like they got some kind of park area that could be a golf course if they really wanted to. I mean, this thing is huge. I can't imagine the amount of people that are going to be working there, the amount of chips they're going to be making. As AI gets more prevalent, as these chatbots get more prevalent, they're going to just need more chips. There's just no way around it. And this is going to be one of the places that they start doing that, which just wildness. I mean, who would have thought they would be doing stuff like this and building, a third of $1 trillion on a factory they're hoping to be done with in 20 years? It's just some wild tech's happening. And this is just the start. I mean, this is just Samsung and, Foxconn / Apple doing this. There's so many other companies that are going to be jumping on this as well, making similar investments in the next couple of years. It's going to be fascinating to see just how it all plays out. As we see, Tesla's building a new gigafactory like every 8 months, and they're not going to slow down. They're going to keep doing it as long as they can. So with that said, thanks for watching and listening to this episode. This is more of I don't want to say filler episode. The news it's a meh, if we're completely honest. But I just wanted to make one weekend episode. I think I'm going to try and just do the 5 weekdays with this show. I just want to do one weekend episode to see if this new audio configuration I got going on is worth its lick. And we're going to find out. Maybe it won't be, maybe it will be, and we'll just keep moving forward. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.